to come together to work more as a people to unite, not only uniting as in nomads, but also uniting for economic emancipation. That means that Africa has a great prospect. There's a booming business in Africa. So whatever you have that you can come and complement what we are greatly going to accept. And we thank you so much. What else can I say? I mean, a general information.
In my last visit, I had the pleasure of sitting down with the first president's daughter,
Samia
Samia
Nkrumah.
Nkrumah, and she spoke about them having raw materials, but not manufacturing companies there to use the raw materials to produce final products. So a lot of other countries were buying the raw materials, using them to produce a final product, and then they would make the majority of the profits. So one of the things, I asked her, what is it that you would like to see African Americans come to Africa and do? And she said, I would like to see them come there and invest in manufacturing so that we cut out the countries that come and buy our products and make money off our raw materials. And I said, okay, good. And that's a great thing. She said, also, my father believed that unity was most important, and he was a student of Du Bois's, and he learned a lot from Du Bois, and he believed that coming together is stronger than being separated, as we all know. With anything we've ever done in life, whether it be football or track or basketball, as a team, we're always stronger. So when we come together, it is a form of unity and power. And so many ask the question, well, why are so many people afraid to see people of color unite and do things? It's because we'll be so strong and we'll be able to accomplish so much. And so I embrace Kwame Nkrumah's message, and I think he speaks of African unity, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I speak from Du Bois's standpoint of African American unity as well. And I believe as a diaspora of people across the world, if we unite with the same goals in mind, which is to strengthen the place we come from, Africa, so much can be accomplished, and they don't have to suffer the way they are in some places now as they do. Uh, I tend to take clothing to Africa when I go. I try to take some type of monies to give them to purchase things for some of the kids that are in some of the facilities there. And I see many Americans go there and try to help those in need. I've heard criticism that there's a lot of need here in the United States, but we have social programs, unfortunately, that are being defunded right now that help people, but Africa does not have those same programs. So now it's going to be even harder to take away from what we have and what we're doing here in America for children and adults, or I should say elderly people, and go over and help others. And that's probably what they want. They want it to be harder for us to help others because we're not getting the assistance here. Uh, Du Bois believed that it was hard to be in a land of dollars, but be a race that is struggling and suffering when all the people around you are doing so well. And so that was his biggest problem with capitalism, and that's why he liked communism somewhat, because the people came first. The people were taken care of. I think the one line that I see that we kind of could improve is not to have people living off a system, we give them help to get, on their feet, but then we put them in a position to succeed and not just be dependent on a system. So that's the only thing that I think that me and my great grandfather agree on going forward. We just believe that we need to help each other. We need to work together, and those who have become successful reach back and pull those forward that need guidance. And I think Africa wants us to come over and be active in that way. That we have succeeded quite a bit here, and we could go over there and help their infrastructure gain strength, and we maybe can build manufacturing companies that can use their raw materials to produce products that can employ people and put money in the hands of Africans. I have traveled all over the world and spent money on hotels and food and whatnot, and supported other people's countries. And I think now it would be great to go to my own place of origin and spend money and help the places that we hardly ever get to see. But I think the biggest picture is learning about our ancestry. We are in the dark on where we came from, and we have been stripped of all the things that make us so special amongst other people. And I think everybody believes their race is special, but we have been taught not to be appreciative of where we come from. And so that's the chains that we're trying to shake off, the negativity that is around African ancestry, and let people see how special and great we are. That's what Dubois wrote so much about, and how proud he was of where he came from and the people that came behind our ancestors. I think we don't have a clue of who we really are, but we can figure that out if we come together and work together. We have started, and we're so responsible for so many great things. Memorial Day, I read a lot yesterday about what slaves contributed to Memorial Day. They were the originators of it, but nobody ever talks about that because they don't want us to know the part we play in history, in American history in general. We are amazing people.
Yes.
Many inventions, many things that we enjoy daily come from people that look like us. But do we know about it? No. So I think it's important that we first start where we came from, which is Africa. And that's why I asked the question so many times, what is it that my great grandfather would have me do in 2025 and going forward? And I think it had been revealed to me in a I guess, dream. I woke up one morning and I started thinking about what I could do to make a difference. And one of those things is take our people back where we came from. I think it was God's will that Dubois passed away in Ghana. If his body wasn't in Ghana, I would have never gone over there, and Sheila Jackson Lee and many other people would not have gone over there. But we went over there because of him. And now we want to take all our people over there to see where we came from and see the great things that Dubois left behind in Ghana. There's a powerful picture on the wall in Ghana of Malcolm X visiting Ghana after Dubois's death. And he's walking with his wife. And when I look at that picture, it tells me that's what caused him to go there, was Dubois's passing. So what is the significance? Dubois is the gateway between all Africans worldwide through Pan-Africanism, going back to where we originated from and learning our history that has been stripped from us as we were taken here on slave ships. I've had conversations with Caucasians about how we have been stripped of the things that connect us to our origin. And many of them go, oh, that's not true. But how can you say that's not true? We don't even know our own last names. we have to go through DNA to trace where we came from and who we're connected to, because we can't just put in a name and have a bunch of family tree pop up, and they just don't want to digest that, and they also don't want our history. Many of them don't want our history to continue because it brings up bad memories for them. But how do they think we feel? What is our feelings when we think about where we came from? And as I said earlier, we did an interview at Magic 102 with Michael Crockett, and we talked about when we go to Cape Coast Castle and stand there in the dungeons and we see and we envision what happened there, the tears that come to our eyes and the emotions that we feel. And then when we walk through the door of no return and we look at the ships that are sitting there, we can visualize what it could have been like, because we can't visualize what it was like. I think as we sit here somewhat successful and we've taken advantage, or we've moved to a different level of what our ancestors went through here in America, some of us have become very comfortable, and many of us don't want to be part of the struggle to move forward. And I spoke with Bishop Dixon last night for about an hour about this very subject. Why aren't people jumping in to unify and strengthen the movement of civil rights? And his answer was because they're happy where they are, and they're not dealing with dogs biting them and billy clubs being hit over the head with billy clubs and thrown in jail, fire water being sprayed on you while you sit in line, or crosses burning in their front yards, or even cocktails thrown to your window to burn your house down, or watch your mother or father being hung. We're not experiencing the things that the people came before us are experiencing, so we don't see the level of importance. But Dubois wrote about all this so that we wouldn't forget, and we would continue to push forward in what is important, not only here in the United States, but in Africa. If I could tell any kid or high school student or college student anything that was important, give them advice, it would be figure out where you came from, go through great lengths to learn all you can about your history. Yes. Make sure that you don't just depend on others to pass it on that might distort it or change it. Make it a point to learn as much as you can from those who you trust. We have historians across the country that are very good at what they do. And Mr. Orleans is very good at what he does in Ghana as far as taking you on great tours and teaching you about the history. That's why I coupled with him. He has connections with the Ghanaian government, and he's a very trustworthy guy. So that's why I chose him, and we've been working together. We're going to have our first tour August 25th through September 1st of Ghana, and it's going to be monumental. And going forward, we're going to try to do one a year, if not more. But at the end of the day, I think he and I are on one accord in what we see as being the beginning of something great, something phenomenal. And another friend of mine named Festus believes this is even greater than what we can see, as he stands back and looks at what we're trying to put together. I believe that we're going to go through some very tough times coming forward because of this administration that's in charge of so many things. And I thank God for schools like Harvard that are fighting back, which Dubois was the first African American to graduate from Harvard with a PhD. Dubois saw a lot of this coming, and I remember reading a newspaper article that was sent to me where he said there'll come a time when they will distort our history, they'll try to change it, and they'll try to make you think that the Civil War wasn't over slavery, They'll change stories, and they'll say that we were just helpers, we weren't slaves. And so if they can get people to believe that, then they'll feel less guilty about the circumstances, and reparations will be less of a conversation. And so I believe hand in hand they would like us to forget what's happened so that reparations don't come up. Before Sheila unfortunately passed away, she was working on a bill concerning reparations, and we talked a few times about it, but I never really got to finish having a conversation with her about what was expected and how we would go about it. Then Congressman Sylvester Turner took over, and he and I had a conversation, and I was like, when I got the news about him, I was out taking a trip for a play, and it was devastating to hear that. So it's like the great leaders that we've had, the Barbara Jordans and the Mickey Lelands, and now Sheila Jackson Lee and Sylvester Turner's, they're gone. And so who does the weight fall on going forward? Many of our pastors and community leaders, and we need younger ones to start stepping up. And I'm going to do all I can, but I don't think politics is quite where I would like to step into. It's a dirty, nasty situation to step into, and I'm not built that way. I would rather stand on what's right than try to do what I can to destroy other people's backgrounds and what they've done and what they stand for. And it seems like that's all that matters in politics most of the time, is how bad you can make your opponent look versus what it is you're going to bring to the table, and how important it is to make a difference in your communities. And Dubois did run for a senator spot way later in his life, in his 80s, but he didn't want to do it. He just did it to make them understand that there's a lot of people that didn't share Republican and Democratic views. In this day and age, it's one or the other. So you pick your poison based on what affects you, more so the worst and the best. And so at this moment, we see what the Republican Party means to how they don't appreciate people of color. They would argue that, but we can see what they're doing, and their actions speak louder than their words. I'm not saying the Democratic Party is perfect, but I will say I see them when I'm at events. I see them when I'm in Africa. I see them as I travel about. Ron Reynolds is one of the people that I can mention I've seen a lot of, and I appreciate that young brother and what he stands for and what he's doing. And I see how hard it is to be a part of all these movements, no matter where they are. It's a lot of time away from your family, very little sleep, and you don't eat the best foods because you're on the run all the time. But the bigger picture is you're fighting for other people, and your own families are affected by what you do, much less everyone else. The one thing that bothers me the most about today is there's so much misinformation. Everybody's struggling to figure out who's telling the truth. Are they adding $4 trillion to the deficit with this bill that he calls the Great Beautiful Bill? I'm still reading to find out if that's true or not. And all the things that we stand to lose as a middle class and lower class group, we're wondering if all that's being written and talked about is true or not. Now, I'm going to catch up with Al Green and ask him. But I think misinformation is, we just don't know. I think Trump calls it fake news. I'm trying to decipher the fake news and the real news. And sometimes it's just hard to tell the difference between the two. And that's why being involved and knowing what's going on around you is so important. In research, you just can't believe everything everybody tells you. And that's what I want to represent as I, talk to a lot of these people in government. Because I don't, if I'm not one of them, then it'll be a good chance people might believe what I'm telling them. And we need more people out there that are involved. And I noticed the last NAACP meeting, I saw you there. And so I think we all kind of know how important going forward it is to be involved and be in the know. Because if you're not, then you got to trust other people's words and what the news is reporting. And I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of concerned about what's being talked about in the regular news and how probably inaccurate it is. One of the things that came up in our last interview was how is Africa being depicted right now through the media? And, you know, I think a lot of people talk about living in huts and walking down the street with things on your head. And that's a very bad misconception of what Africa is about. They have some beautiful buildings there. They have great restaurants and a lot of nice automobiles and a lot of things we see here in the States. I won't say they're as advanced as we are, but I will say they're doing a lot better than what many might construe. They do have tough areas just like we do, you know, where people are struggling, but they also have some great and very pretty areas. Whatever it is that's in Africa, I think people need to go see it for themselves. It speaks 1,000 words when you can put your eyes on where your people came from and learn the history and figure out how you can contribute to making it better. And I think my slogan statement is, I want to leave the world a better place than I found it. And I think that's something we all should endorse.
Thank you so much. And I have 3 things to share. And because of being a tour guide and a tour operator for some time, the constant questions, the fear that always come up when we are with our brothers and sisters. So I'll talk about reconciliation, I'll talk about reconnection, and I'll talk about reinvest. There's been a huge fallacy which goes on most of the time, and it's a scheme put together to further disunite us, disunite the Africans on the continent and the global African diaspora. So it's about a time we need to know and learn and understand what they are doing to separate us. And the narrative has been Africans sold Africans, which is a fallacy. It's never true. And we need to have this strong conversation so that we can be edified, take all the pains out of us, and start to build a new life, a new relationship with our brothers and sisters, those on the continent and the global African diaspora. Slavery has lived with mankind since inception of this world, and Africa isn't an exception. Our form of slavery was what we call domestic servitude, where you go and serve your debtors, people that you own, for some time. You are not in shackles. You were not beaten. Your name particularly was not changed. So that was our form of system. And today, from where I come from in Ghana, there's a lot of descendants of former slaves who are now kings and queens. Because when you come in as a domestic servitude, as a slave to work, when they see your stewardship as a very diligent and hardworking, they will marry you into the family. Then you become part of the family. And like I said, your name was not changed. Africa, our names are very sacred because your name connects you to where you come from. Your name also gives you identity. Your name also gives you a mandate to fulfill. That is why when you watch the Root movie, Kunte Kinte was very reluctant to change his name because he knows that as he changed his name, his legacy is lost. He wouldn't know where he come from. His offspring would never know where he come from. So names are very important to us. So the pains Africans on the continent feel, the same pains was also fed by our brothers and sisters taken away. I'm talking about enslaved Africans. Imagine your son, your dear son, going to the stream to fetch water, never return. You love this son so much, but this son never returned. He has been captured by slave raiders. This mental torture will live with you for the rest of your life. And that was the pains our mothers were going through when their children, their husbands, their daughters were taken away. We felt the pains that we'll never get to reunite with our people again. So in every society, there's a recalcitrant, there's a greedy. People who are greedy, who want it all for themselves. Some of them aided the Europeans to take our people away. But in totality, Africans never sold Africans. We really need to put it in the right perspective so that we can really understand what happened and the pains that we both went through. So whilst I am here and having opportunity, we want to say we love you, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. We want to say whatever that has happened in the past, let's begin to build a new relationship. We share the same destiny, share in the same heritage. So we'll pray with you. Please, if America don't love you, we love you. And we want to reconcile with you and start to build a new relationship. And as we reconcile, showing love to ourselves, then we want to reconnect properly. And as we reconnect, this is a time it's going to strengthen our heritage together, enrich our prospects as a people, and as we have reconnect properly, then we will say, let's reinvest. The great man himself, Dubois and the rest, invested their time, their energy, their intellectual property to see the freedom and liberty we are enjoying today. Me and you have to reinvest. And the reinvest come in several forms and shape, taking a trip to Africa to learn about your roots. And as you take the trip to Africa, you try to see what can you do to help to build this continent. There's a huge business opportunities. And like I always say, loans, grants, aid as not getting Africa to where we're supposed to be. Fundamental problem is we don't have fair trade. We don't have fair trade. There's a huge gap between the raw materials that is taken from Africa and the refinery. And oftentimes we may not even be allowed to refine, to add value to what we have. So what Africa needs is fair trade. Fair trade is what we are asking for. And there's a lot of opportunity our brothers and sisters can bring on the table, complement what we have as a people. Because the surest way for Africa redemption, the surest way for our redemption is the new relationship we build with the African diaspora. Likewise, our independence from colonization was largely linked with the relationship Africans have with the African diaspora. Knowing very well that Ghana was the first black nation in sub-Saharan Africa to regain its independence from colonial rule. And Kwame Nkrumah, who was largely mentored by Dubois, became a beacon for a lot of young Africans who look up to him and fought for their respective independence, which ushered way for the creation of Africa Union, Organization of African Unity, Kwame Nkrumah, Haile Selassie, and the rest. So, fast forward, our independence was largely supported by the African diaspora. The second independence we see, which is